Hi, my name is Don Peterson. I'm one of the NetBackup product managers, and we're going to talk about VTLs today. A lot of customers are using VTLs. They're very easy to use with NetBackup, but they're very interested in finding out how they can take advantage of the extended feature sets that VTLs offer, how they can improve or optimize performance using a VTL, and how they can make copies of virtual tape to physical tape. So we'll talk about those three things and give you some insight how you can use VTLs with NetBackup. The first of these is looking at using the extended feature set of a VTL. When you use a VTL with NetBackup, the media server is basically talking to an intelligent disk subsystem, but through the VTL software, it looks like it's taped to NetBackup. And when NetBackup deals with tape, it's unintelligent. The tape drive can't tell it much of anything about performance. The library doesn't tell it anything. NetBackup can't pass information to those devices to help improve them. So it's really kind of a dead device to NetBackup. When NetBackup uses the new Open Storage API, which was developed for interfacing specifically to tape, interfacing to disk, then NetBackup can query the device and find out what kind of intelligence it has, can receive that input from the intelligent device, and take advantage of that when it does operations within NetBackup. In order then to be able to take advantage of this functionality, there really needs to be an implementation by the vendor of an open storage plugin. Typically, that will be to an open storage software interface on their intelligent device. One vendor, Falcon Store, has basically implemented the open storage plugin so it actually talks to the VTL software. But you've got this intelligent device that is going to be able to talk to an open storage plugin the vendor makes, and that's how you are enabled to take advantage of these extended feature sets that these intelligent disk drives, typically so far called VTLs, have implemented. I'm going to talk about one of the ways to optimize performance when you're using a VTL with NetBackup. When using physical tape with NetBackup, one of the things you have to make sure you do is be able to keep a tape drive streaming. With some of the newer drives like LTO4 drives, you may be able to run minimum 40 megabytes per second to keep it streaming, and maybe 160 megabytes or more per second to take advantage of the speed of the drive and use it efficiently. So if we've got a media server writing to the drive with physical tape and the clients are only sending data at 5 megabytes per second, if we would need at least 8 clients to be able to maintain 40 megabytes per second, and we'd need to multiplex 32 clients if we wanted to hit 160 megabytes per second. And that's with the drive, running at 160 megabytes per second. A lot of VTLs out there can run 500 megabytes per second or more. And so, that's probably with a VTL that maybe has 20 disks in it. Now, a customer may look at this and say, okay, I could then run, at 5 megabytes per second, I could actually run 100 jobs currently to that VTL. Well, number one, that's not the way the VTL is specified for 500 megabytes per second. But if you look at that, running 100 jobs to the VTL, each disk has a single spindle. And therefore, if you try to run more virtual tape drives than you do physical disk drives, you're going to be trying to write multiple jobs to that same disk at one time. So with this, I'd be trying to write 5 jobs to each disk. And that's going to cause a lot of head thrashing on the disk. And when you divide 500 by 100, again, it's 5 megabytes per second trying to go to each one of these different disks with 5 different streams. That's going to end up having a very big performance impact, and you're going to see noticeably less than 500 megabytes per second in terms of overall performance. So in that case, what you want to do is you want to go and say, okay, I'm only going to configure 20 drives out here, but if I'm going to have 100 different clients out here that I want to send data to, then I'd be going and using multiplexing of 5 to be able to use no more than 20, be sending no more than 20 jobs to the virtual tape library at any one time. And that'll help performance by using multiplexing with a VTL. I'm going to talk about how you can duplicate backup images from a VTL to physical tape. Typically, when you duplicate images using NetBackup, the data goes from wherever it's located, such as a VTL, to the media server, and then out to the targeted tape device. So it would flow through the media server. The media server handles all the I/O, and it's a fairly straightforward path. NetBackup sees the physical tape drive, controls the library, etc. A second method, which EMC implemented in their DL4000 series, is they embedded a NetBackup media server code into the VTL. You can actually buy a Tier 2 SAN media server license, which is now Enterprise Client, to run here. EMC sells a license to enable that capability, so there's 2 licenses required. The SAN media server license required from NetBackup, and that just is used only for duplication, and you specify an alternate read host so you can read the image off the VTL and write it out to physical tape. NetBackup is obviously performing that duplication, so you now have copy 1 here and copy 2 there, just like you did with the first solution. A third, newer solution is one that NetBackup implemented in 6.5, and that's where the feature was called NDM VTL Direct to Tape, utilizes what we refer to as NDMP Direct Copy. That's where the VTL implements an NDMP tape server in their code. Because that's there, it basically ends up acting very much like a NAS device, where a NAS device can be directly connected to a tape drive and write to it. NetBackup basically, if you do a duplication, talks to the VTL, mounts the tape in here through SCSI pass-through commands, talks to the physical tape library, mounts the tape in there, positions it to the right location, then tells the VTL to copy the backup image from the VTL to physical tape. So it again goes directly from the VTL to physical tape, all under NetBackup control. Copy 1 is here, copy 2 is here. They can be different expiration periods, so that's really neat. So if you want to take it off the VTL, then you can do that, and you can do whatever you want with this copy on physical tape. A fourth method, which isn't supported by NetBackup, but which some customers use and is supported by some VTL vendors, is they make the copy themselves. NetBackup then doesn't see the physical tape library, doesn't even know that the drives are out there, so you don't charge for them if NetBackup can't see them. But what the VTL is doing, it's making a byte-by-byte copy of a piece of media. NetBackup, remember, copies images. VTLs, when they do that, copy tapes. So it could be less than 1 image, it could be a whole slew of images, depending on how much fits on that particular tape. Then they do the copy byte by byte to a physical tape drive. NetBackup still only knows about copy 1 here, doesn't know about copy 2. That copy 2 that the VTL made will now have the same media ID embedded in the tape as copy 1 does. So from a NetBackup perspective, that's not a legitimate way to do things, because you can't have 2 identical media in 2 different places. When NetBackup doesn't know about it, it doesn't cause problems. If someone were to take and pull that physical tape out, put it in the library that NetBackup could see, and would see the same media ID in 2 different locations, NetBackup cannot tolerate that, so you'd have a problem. So those are the ways that you can use do duplications from a VTL to physical tape with NetBackup, and hopefully that gives you some good insight into what to use in your environment.